In stood by the stove, humming softly while stirring soup. Tae slipped behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Resting his chin on her shoulder, Mrs. Kim entered quietly, her smile plastered on. Mrs. Kim, ague. My daughter-in-law shouldn't tire herself. Cooking is my job. You relax, Ina. Let mom handle this. In smiled warmly. No, Yamanim, it makes me happy to cook for Tae. But thank you. Mrs. Kim nodded sweetly, though her fingers tightened on the counter. Inside, her chest burned watching Tae kiss In's cheek. Later, In carried Tae's shirt to the ironing board. Before she could start, Mrs. Kim swooped in with soft insistence. Mrs. Kim, give it to me. You don't have to do these chores. I'll iron for my son, In chuckled politely. Enio, Yamanim, please rest. I'll do it. You've done enough already. Mrs. Kim's smile held, but her eyes hardened for a flicker. She let go. Mrs. Kim, Arasso. You're such a sweet girl. Inside, her heart screamed. She's replacing me bit by bit. In and Tae sat on the balcony one evening, their laughter soft under the night sky. Tae brushed In's hair away, tucking it behind her ear, and kissed her gently. From the hallway window, Mrs. Kim watched, her chest tightening with a storm of emotions. A dull ache crept in her temples. She clutched her head, staggering slightly, then called out weakly, Tae. My head, it hurts again. Tae rushed inside, leaving In alone on the balcony. In frowned, her smile fading as she whispered to herself, that's the third time this week. Days turned into weeks. At first, In believed in Mrs. Kim's frailty. She admired her kindness, her constant smiles. But as time passed, she noticed the patterns. The headaches always came when she and Tae were together. The little interruptions, the way Mrs. Kim's gaze lingered too long, too sharp, before softening into a smile again. In's gut whispered something was wrong. The pieces were slowly falling into place. It was late at night. Tae had just tucked into bed after Mrs. Kim once again called him to massage her head. He returned after almost an hour, sighing as he slipped under the blanket. In turned to face him, her expression unreadable. In Taehyung, he pulled her closer, kissing her forehead. In hesitated before whispering, don't you think? Yamanim's headaches happen too often, always when we're together. Tae chuckled softly, brushing her cheek. Tae, you're overthinking, baby. She's just stressed, maybe weak. You know she's alone most of the time, right? Now she finally has us around. Maybe she just wants attention. In's eyes searched his. I'm not saying she's faking, but something feels off. Tae sighed, tightening his arms around her. Tae, Ina, my mom loves you. I can see how happy she is. You don't need to worry about anything. Promise me you won't let small thoughts ruin our peace, In pressed her lips together. She nodded slowly, but deep inside, the unease remained. She whispered, okay? Yet her mind replayed every detail, the smiles that didn't reach Mrs. Kim's eyes, the timing of every ache, every interruption. As Tae drifted off to sleep and stared at the ceiling, her instincts screamed louder now. But if even Tae didn't believe her, what could she do? Days turned into weeks, and though Mrs. Kim's smile never faltered, In's eyes grew sharper. At breakfast, In noticed how Mrs. Kim always insisted on serving Tae herself, brushing off In's attempts with a gentle, "Ani, sweetheart, let Yama do it." He's used to my cooking. Tae would laugh, kiss both their cheeks, and dig in happily oblivious. In smiled too, but her chest tightened. Later, in the laundry room, In reached for Tae's shirt to iron. Mrs. Kim appeared out of nowhere, snatching it up with a soft laugh. Mrs. Kim, ague, don't tire yourself. I've done this all my life. You go rest. In, it's okay. I can do it. Mrs. Kim's smile froze for half a second before returning, softer, almost saintly. So sweet of you, but Tae likes my way better. In's heart skipped. Her eyes lowered, but her mind caught every word. One evening, In walked into the kitchen quietly, only to find Mrs. Kim already there, humming as she prepared Tae's favorite dish. When she noticed In, she clutched her head. Mrs. Kim, my headache again. I thought I could manage, but she stopped as Tae rushed in behind In, instantly wrapping an arm around her. Taeyama said, "Don't push yourself. I'll call a doctor if it doesn't stop." In stood silently. She didn't miss the way Mrs. Kim peeked at her from behind Tae's shoulder, that fleeting, victorious flicker in her eyes before she winced again. That night, Tae reassured In once more. "Tae, baby, she's just old and tired. Don't think too much." In forced a smile, leaning against his chest. But inside, her doubts sharpened like glass. She wasn't imagining it. She couldn't be. In stopped trying to brush things off. Instead, she watched, listened, memorized. Whenever Tae was around, Mrs. Kim played the part of the perfect, gentle mother. Smiling too wide, fussing over Tae's meals, clinging to him with headaches and aches that always seemed to strike at the most convenient moments. But the second Tae turned his back, the earth shifted. Like the afternoon when Tae left the living room to grab his phone. In bent down to pick up the throw blanket, only to hear Mrs. Kim's sharp sigh behind her. Mrs. Kim muttered under her breath, low, bitter, before smoothing her face again as Tae returned. In froze, did she really hear that? Or was it her mind twisting things? Or the time Tae hugged In from behind in the balcony, whispering into her ear. In giggled, cheeks flushing, but when she glanced toward the hall, Mrs. Kim was standing there, watching. Not smiling, just watching. And then, just as quickly, she clutched her chest and called Tae in a weak voice. In's throat tightened. She wanted to say something, but she swallowed it back down. What proof did she have to Tae? It would sound like she was imagining things, maybe even being ungrateful. So she kept it inside. Each moment added to the growing knot in her chest. Every smile Mrs. Kim threw her way, every kind word, it all rang hollow now. When Tae held her at night, whispering, "You're overthinking, love. My mom adores you," and only buried her face into his chest and forced herself to nod. But inside, she knew Mrs. Kim's act was slipping, and In was the only one who could see it. It was late evening. Tae had stepped out to take an urgent call, leaving In and Mrs. Kim in the living room. The silence between them felt heavier than usual. In placed her teacup down slowly and looked straight at her. "Mrs. Kim, why are you doing this?" Mrs. Kim's hands stilled over the embroidery in her lap. Her eyes flicked up, calm, almost too calm. "Doing what, dear?" In's chest tightened. "You act sweet in front of Tae, but the moment he turns around, your face, your words, they change. I see it. I'm not imagining it." For a second, Mrs. Kim didn't answer. Then she set the embroidery aside and leaned forward, her smile gone. "You really think you're clever, don't you?" Her voice was low, sharp, every trace of kindness stripped away. "You think you can walk in here, take my son, and push me out of his life? I raised him. Everything he is today is because of me. And now he barely looks at me because of you." In's breath hitched. It was the first time Mrs. Kim had dropped the act so openly. "I'm not trying to take him away," In whispered, her voice shaking. "I love him. I only want us to be a family. Mrs. Kim laughed bitterly. "You'll never be family. You're just a guest here who overstayed." Before In could respond, footsteps echoed in the hallway. Tae walked in, smiling. "What are you both?" And instantly, Mrs. Kim clutched her chest, her eyes glistening with sudden tears. "Taehyung, I'm sorry," she said in a trembling voice, forcing a weak smile at it. "If you feel like I'm coming between you two." "I didn't mean to. I'm only a mother. Maybe I'm too attached, maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't want to lose you." Tae froze, shock flashing across his face. His eyes darted between his teary mother and his speechless wife. In's jaw dropped. She couldn't believe the transformation, from venom to fragile mother in seconds. Tae's hand immediately went to his mother's shoulder, worried, while In just sat there, stunned. In hesitated, then whispered, Tae, your mom doesn't like me. She thinks I'll take you away from her. Tae frowned, brushing her hair back. No, don't think like that. My mom is just a little possessive, that's all. I'm her only son, but she doesn't dislike you. In shook her head. You didn't see her face when you left the room. The way she talks to me when you're not around, I can feel it. She doesn't want me here. For a moment, Tae just stared at her, then sighed. Baby, you're overthinking. My mom has her ways, but she's not bad. Trust me, okay? In opened her mouth to argue, but Tae leaned in and silenced her with a deep kiss. His hand slid behind her neck, pulling her closer until every thought melted away. She gasped against his lips. Tae, I'm serious, I know, he murmured, kissing her harder. But right now, I just want you. Her protests dissolved as he pushed her back against the pillows. What had started as a debate turned into breathless laughter, tangled sheets, and whispered I love yous. The room filled with heat, every touch drowning out doubts. And while upstairs they lost themselves in each other, downstairs Mrs. Kim sat in her room, convinced she had planted a crack between them, never knowing that instead, the two were burning brighter than ever. In woke up with her head resting on Tae's chest. He was still asleep, his face calm and innocent. She traced his jaw softly and whispered to herself, if I want us to survive, I have to play her game and win. Downstairs, Mrs. Kim was already in the kitchen, pretending to look weak as she made breakfast. She clutched her head dramatically when Tae walked in. Ah, son? My headache again. I tried to cook for you both, but I feel so dizzy. Tae rushed to her, concern written all over his face. Amma, you should rest. I'll call the doctor. Before he could, In walked in with a bright smile. Oh no, Mrs. Kim, don't worry. Why don't you sit? I'll finish the breakfast. Tae, you go freshen up. I'll take care of Mom. Mrs. Kim blinked, not expecting the soft, respectful tone. She sat reluctantly, thinking finally, she's learning her place. But as In cooked, she hummed, moving confidently. When Tae returned, breakfast was already beautifully plated. Tae smiled proudly at her. Wow, baby, you're amazing. He kissed In's temple right in front of his mother. Mrs. Kim's smile faltered. Later that day, Mrs. Kim tried another trick, pretending to be hurt while lifting a basket of laundry. She called out for Tae, but In was faster. Mrs. Kim, let me help you. You should rest those delicate hands, In said sweetly, taking the basket. Her eyes met Mrs. Kim's for a split second, sharp, unshaken. Mrs. Kim's chest tightened. She realized this girl wasn't breaking. She was fighting back. At dinner, Mrs. Kim sighed loudly, looking pitiful. Sometimes, I feel like I'm no longer needed in my own son's life. Tae looked alarmed. Amma. But In cut in gently, her voice calm. Don't say that. You'll always be the most important woman in his life. I would never want to take your place. Her words were perfect, her tone genuine. Tae reached over and squeezed her hand under the table, touched. Mrs. Kim forced a smile, but inside she burned. She's turning my own son against me without looking like the villain. For the first time, Mrs. Kim felt herself losing control, and Tae. He sat there, looking between the two women he loved most, utterly confused, not knowing who to believe. One evening, Tae had gone out for a late business dinner, leaving In and Mrs. Kim alone in the mansion. The silence was thick, only broken by the ticking of the antique clock in the living room. Mrs. Kim sat across from In, sipping tea with that perfect fake smile. Mrs. Kim's smile dropped, her eyes sharpened like blades. And I can choose you just as easily, Before In could respond, Tae walked in earlier than expected. He froze at the sight of both women facing each other. Mrs. Kim's expression changed instantly. She stood, clutching her chest, letting her eyes well with fake tears. "Son," her voice cracked. "I was just telling her. Maybe I should leave you. I don't want to be a burden between you two." Tae's jaw dropped. "Ama. What are you saying?" In's eyes widened. "What?" Mrs. Kim turned her head slightly, just enough for In to catch the glint of victory in her eyes. Then she looked back at Tae, trembling. "She told me I'm suffocating you. That I'm trying to control your marriage. Maybe she's right. Maybe you would be happier without me around." Tae spun toward In, shocked. "You said that?" In's lips parted, her chest tightening. "No, Tae, that's not what." But Mrs. Kim collapsed onto the sofa, covering her face dramatically. "I can't take this pain anymore." Tae rushed to his mother's side, panicked, holding her hand. In stood frozen, her heart shattering as she realized Mrs. Kim had just planted a deadly seed of doubt between her and Tae.